will show the world and the nation that what Ron Paul has stood for is not a fluke, it's the future.
Just that. Vote your conscience, vote for what you think is real change, and that's what you're going to get. And even if I don't end up winning, voting for me ends up making a difference in the way that whichever of the other two win, you view these topics.
I completely agree. Now you mentioned end the Fed in your speech. Are you going to stay true to that message? Are you going to
If Congress passes legislation to abolish the Federal Reserve, I'm signing the legislation.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so
much. Same with legal tender laws, same with competing currency.
And if they want to donate, just go to GaryJohnson.com.
Yep, GaryJohnson2012.com. Yep.
As a fellow New Mexican, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Talk to you later.
Hey, Gary, if Ron Paul gets the nomination, will you turn all your support to help getting Ron Paul as the president?
You know, as much as I would like to have that to have happened, I just don't think there's any way that happens.
Very unlikely, but if Ron gets the nomination.
Well,
I mean, a miracle, like hurricane coming, and we change the entire country right here, right now.
I don't think it is. And I made this decision back in December when I'm looking at this, and I believed at that time that Ron Paul was going to continue. You know, they did not want stereo speakers up on stage. They just wanted one person up on stage, and it's easy to marginalize one person. Easier to marginalize one person than two people.
Right.
And so that's why I did this. I just thought that this was really important to have a message of liberty and freedom on the stage nationally in the general election. And I want to stress how significant it is that the Libertarian Party is going to be on the ballot in all 50 states. It's really significant. I don't know if you saw, I'm on the ballot in Oklahoma as the Americans-elect candidate, the only Americans-elect nominee in all of the 50 states. That's because of the barriers they threw up against the Libertarian Party.
Well, with all the Republican pushing away from all the Liberty crowd and everything else that's going on, I think after this election, if Romney does get the nod, I think we will see a lot more of the conservative Republicans heading over to the Libertarian Party. Do you see this?
Well, I do too. And where's the pushback? The pushback would be with the Libertarian nominee for president. I happen to be that nominee. Like I said this before. I think if given the opportunity, every single one of you would be doing what I'm doing right now. I've been given that opportunity. I'm trying to make the most out of that opportunity. I do have a resume. I can do this job. I can do a good job at this job.
A great job. Hands above everybody else out there besides Dr. Paul. Thank you, Gary.
What changes do you think need to happen socially or politically so a third party gets their voice heard? It seems like they're not being taken seriously. What changes do you think need to happen?
For me, I wouldn't be doing this right now if there wasn't the opportunity to win. But the only chance that I have of winning is to be on the national debate stage against the two of them. And to do that, I need to be polling at 15% nationally. I think that with Ron Paul's support, meaning Ron Paul supporters' support, that is a real distinct possibility. From there, anything can happen. That, of course, could be crash and burn, but I don't think that's what is going to happen.
Talk to me about the Federal Reserve talk. I noticed your association was a little different. You really put a stronger emphasis on this time.
You know, I've been saying this for 3 years now that if given the opportunity, I would sign legislation to ban the Federal Reserve. I don't think Congress is going to pass the legislation. And by the way, Romney right now is talking about as a concession to the plank that they're going to support auditing the Federal Reserve. Look, as President of the United States appoints the head of the Federal Reserve. So without legislation banning the Federal Reserve, the President of the United States could, in essence, order an audit of the Federal Reserve administratively, because the President of the United States appoints the head of the Federal Reserve. So that would be done.
Governor Johnson, you talked to me about your relationship with Ron Paul. You know, you spent a lot of time up there talking about he came to you in 2008 for seeking your endorsement. Tell me about that.
Well, just that I was asked to endorse. I readily gave that endorsement. I went to Minneapolis. I spoke at the event there in Minneapolis. Got to spend time with Dr. Paul. When I went up to Minneapolis, he took his time to be with me. I was flattered by that. And, I've just been flattered by, well, I've just been in awe of his activism and his work.
You guys talked this year before the election at all about running, or?
Yeah, well, I went to tell him that I was going to run, and at that time he was undecided on whether or not he was going to run or not. In my opinion, his running created an atmosphere where there was potentially stereo speakers on stage talking about the same issues. It's harder to marginalize two than one. But I got marginalized out of the picture completely. I think he continued to be marginalized and is marginalized to this day. And that this is the fastest growing segment of American politics today.
Do you feel the Republicans cheated Ron Paul out of the nomination?
Yes, as they did me, just a place on the stage.
Yeah, and are you going to fight to be loud? What are you going to do to say? What are you going to say to Mitt Romney to get yourself up to be able to debate Romney and Obama?
Well, I think what needs to be said is weighing in on all those issues that I'm talking about. I think they're all rushing to see who can be the first to bomb Iran. We're going to find. Let me just offer up a prediction. If one of the two are elected, our civil liberties are going to continue to be eroded. We're going to have a heightened police state. We're going to still be in perpetual war, and we're going to accumulate more unsustainable debt.
Because the liberty message is so strong, do you think they're actually afraid to debate you, sir?
Yes, I do. Well, everyone is afraid to acknowledge that this voice even exists. And you've experienced this firsthand. You understand what I'm saying. But look, by default, I'm the voice. I want to make the case that I'm not a default. I want to make the case that I can do this job and that I can do a really good job at it, and I would base that on everything that's in my resume.
Okay, you told the Weekly Standard you were a humanitarian of war. I was wondering, is there an example of that in history?
Well, I've been debating about this. Do any of us want to stand by and watch a Holocaust occur? And that's the reason that I made the statement. No, none of us want to watch that. But what we end up doing is we end up with military interventions that have unintended consequences for everything. So in my lifetime, I don't know if there's a single military intervention that has resulted in intended consequences. It's always resulted in unintended consequences.
That's true. I don't know a point in time in history that ever happened. Even World War II, when FDR knew about the concentration camps, the Republicans said he didn't want to look like he was supporting Jewish people. That's why he didn't do anything about it, or even publicly come out about it, or even stop the Holocaust.
And of course, World War II, Germany declared war against the United States. We were at war with Japan.
What can we do to help get the truth and liberty movement out there? I mean, what should independent journalists and citizen journalists be doing?
I think you guys do it every day, and my hat's off to all of you. I know that you beat your head up against the wall to do just that, and I think you've done a terrific job of just that. I applaud your efforts, but this is a redouble here of efforts.
What are your thoughts on the economy? Do you think that there's actually going to be a pending collapse in the near future?
I don't think it's avoidable. I think the mathematics of continuing to borrow and print money to the tune of 43 cents out of every dollar has a consequence that is unavoidable.
I need to get passionate, not just about politics, but about how do you get the drive to do all those awesome things? Where's that power come from for you?
Well, I really believe that life is a journey, that it's not a destination. If you make it a destination, you're going to be sorely disappointed. So I always say to people, find out what your passions are and pursue your your passion. And your passion can never be getting to the top of Mount Everest, because you might not get to the top of Mount Everest. But if it's to get there, if it's to be a part of an expedition, to have a chance at doing that's life. So running for President of the United States, the notion here is to win, but the notion here is to be engaged in a process that changes the world at a minimum, and that's the passion. The passion is to live life to its fullest every single day.
Thank you. I've got one more. You say you want to audit the Fed, and if auditing or editing the Fed would have a negative effect on the economy or just
First of all, I fundamentally believe that transparency would not have a negative consequence. I really believe that auditing the turning lights on in the room with regard to the Federal Reserve and what the Federal Reserve does would be eye-opening to everybody, and everybody would see what an inside job this is.
What if it would immediately collapse the economy? Something I heard something to that effect. Well, that's why they keep it hidden, because
I don't buy into that at all.
Hey Gary, I want to just say thanks for coming. My name's Tony Hernandez, and I'm running for the U.S. Congress in this district. I won the Republican primary, and I want to say if you are elected, I would happily and gladly work for the libertarian cause on your ticket. So,
thank you.
The other thing I just want to point out is here in Minnesota, the Republican Party is definitely changing from within. We have a whole bunch of candidates up there. And my question for you is, we do have this two-party system that is dominant. Is there still hope working within the Republican Party, in your opinion?
I don't think there is, in my opinion. For all of the head banging that I had, banging my head up against the wall, I just have a bunch of knots in my head. Mm-hmm. So, libertarian, this is coming out of the closet for me. I think that let's not forget that all of the faces on Mount Rushmore were third-party candidates at one time.
Hey Gary, Sean Wright from We Are Change asked you in Tampa about if Dr. Paul got the ticket. You said you would support him absolutely, but he didn't get the nomination. When are we going to be expecting Dr. Paul to endorse you for president?
Well, first of all, I supported Dr. Paul. Dr. Paul asked for my endorsement in 2008. I readily gave that endorsement. I was asked in the second debate which candidate I would choose as a vice president. That was a no-brainer. That's Dr. Paul. When I left the Republican primary, I asked everyone that was going to vote for me to vote for Dr. Paul. I am not asking Dr. Paul for his endorsement. I don't expect his endorsement. I think he's between a rock and a hard place because his son is a U.S. Senator, and I think he really is treading lightly on keeping him in that position.
Yeah, they were chanting for you, Gary.